Thank you, John. Well, there are two questions that we received through WhatsApp. Let me please ask Mark. Let us open this WhatsApp. Mark? The question is whether the programs, if programs are specific to ministries, how do you manage the budget that requires the articulation with multiple ministries?
Okay.
Yes, this is the microphone working? This is a very big issue, not only in a program budgeting system, but more generally in government. How do you bring about whole of government coordination? How do you get ministries to cooperate rather than have a form of so-called silo management where every ministry manages from its own narrow perspective without coordination? There is no magical solution to this, but what's very clear is that it is not a solution to pretend that by creating large programs which cross multiple ministries that you will magically bring about cooperation or coordination or a broader view. This does not work. You know, this is a big topic in its own right, but some of the, and actually I'm sure John will have some thoughts on this one as well. But, you know, there are multiple approaches that OECD countries have brought to bear on this problem. One of them has been the creation of a smaller number of large ministries. In other words, rather than the extreme where you have 20 or 30 ministries, you aim for a smaller number of big ministries, which will incorporate some of these coordination within their own structures. That's the first point. The second point is building by multiple means a greater sense of cabinet or whole of government coordination at the Council of Ministers or cabinet level. In other words, rather than having a situation where every minister is simply managing from the point of view of their own ministry, for example, trying to get as many budget resources as they can, you create structures and processes to encourage a whole of government point of view. In the budget context, one of the best mechanisms for that is to have some type of expenditure review committee of cabinet, which exists in my own country of origin, in Australia. It's been a very powerful instrument for bringing about more of a whole of government approach. The power of some of the central agencies is very important as well, the Prime Minister's or President's office. I will perhaps at this stage, having thrown those couple of ideas, ask John whether he might like to comment further on this particular issue.
I mean, I would just, I would just reinforce the point that if you have programs that cross ministries, the first question should not be, how do we deal with this in the budget? It's more, how do we deal with this in the organization of government? And as I said quite bluntly, that budget programs that cross two ministries in OECD experience do not work. We have, however, seen in a number of countries a reorganization of government based on the fact that program budgeting illustrated the fact that it was necessary for more than one ministry or even three ministries to work together on a program. And this led to a change in the machinery of government, how the number of ministries. And I would just echo Mark's point, the fewer the ministries you have, the better.
The next question has to do with the final result of public policies are attained in the mid and long term, especially in social politics as education and health? How do you solve the measurement of results in the short term so that it is compatible with the long-term perspective?
Well, this is again a really important issue. The question was, how do we, if the budget and management perspectives are short-term, but the outcomes, the resultados that we are aiming to achieve are only realised in the longer or in the medium or longer term, how do we reconcile these two? And I'm going to say, to start off with, I'm going to challenge to a degree the supposition that question is based upon. Let's just take this education example. It is true that the high-level outcomes that we're trying to achieve through a good education system, such as a strong economy, a unified society, that these things are only realised in the longer term. However, the most direct outcome of the educational system is the level of education of our children. How much do they learn at school? Do they end up at the end of school able to read and write? What's their level of numeracy? This is not a long-term result. This is actually quite a short-term outcome. But it's the outcome which is most important to the education programs. One of the implications of this, by the way, is that when you define the outcomes of programs in a program budgeting system, you should always focus on the program-specific lower-level outcomes in particular. You don't set as the outcome of the education program the strength of the Uruguayan economy, because many different programs contribute to that, and it's only realised over the longer term. You focus fairly and squarely on what the education system is delivering in terms of educational outcomes for children. So I think we need to avoid getting too despairing about outcomes allegedly only always being realised over quite a long time frame.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, John. Mikhail, do you want to close this session? Ladies and gentlemen. We invite you for a coffee, a 20-minute pause, and we'll be back.